Hey guys, we just want to take a few minutes and do like a special podcast because there was this huge controversy that happened this week. We actually recorded a different pod earlier in the week of just like normal stuff, and then we're like in the Joey and Grom way, like emergency podcast.
Yes,
because there's a huge Player of the Year controversy. Negreanu was first declared the winner. He did like a victory lap of like, yay, I'm the winner, and I'm gonna do vlogs about it, and then just had his hopes dashed. It just came out that the points were actually calculated incorrectly, and Rob Campbell was the winner. So
here we are.
Yeah.
We're going to deep dive.
Should be fun. So we want to just give you guys kind of a background about what is WSOP Player of the Year. You're lucky. You're from like the cash world.
I know.
Where you guys just worry about making money.
Yeah, I have no idea. I've never won an award in my life. I don't know. I'm not even close to in the running for this, but the only thing I know about it is I see the big banners in WSOP every year. They list, and it looks prestigious to me, but I don't know.
Yeah, and I think there's something to it, if it's a personal goal of yours, which for Daniel Negreanu, he's won it twice. I think he might be the only one who's won it twice. And it's important to him. And so like he talks about it every year, and he like strategizes ways to make it. And then there's other people who kind of come for his throat because they're like, well, I don't like you and I want to take it away. And that brings in Shaun Deeb, who's been very vocal about not being a kid poker fan. So for WSOP, they do it this way. They count points for any caches that you make at WSOP and WSOP Europe. And obviously you get more points as you climb up the leaderboard, with the most points being for a bracelet. But it does depend on the field depth and a bunch of other things and like how expensive the tournaments are. So that's actually been a lot of controversy this year on Twitter on what should count. And one of the big topics that comes up over and over again is re-entry. So let's say Marley has like $1 billion and says, I want to make Player of the Year. Yeah. I am going to put infinite entries into all these tournaments and just try to like build up a stack. I'll gamble and try to get a big stack. And essentially people call it buying a bracelet if you do that. So that's one of the problems. But does this sound silly to you as a cash player to be like, we don't care if we lose money, we just want the points?
Totally. I mean, I think that the part of the appeal of tournaments is the kind of glory and is the prestige. So I get that. And so it makes sense that would be kind of equally almost as important to people as just money. And I think that once you get to a certain point financially, I don't think we're anywhere near that, but like it just, what's another million really? It's just, you really just want the trophies and the bracelets and the notoriety. So I get that. But I think they need to get a better system. And, it's kind of similar with the just Hendon moms in general and total live earnings and all that kind of stuff. It's definitely a flawed system.
Yeah. I think I had suggested something maybe a month back, and actually Negreanu liked it, which I thought was interesting because I think that he does do a ton of reentries, but he has made the point that like, hey, you guys have made this system and I'm playing by the rules. Like I'm going to try to win and the rules say I can do this. It's like in Mario when you like use the flute, you're like, yo, you put the flute there. I'm using the flute. I'm going to the like I'm leveling up.
Nice.
So pretty much I had said, how about if you enter something like, take the extreme, it's a 100K tournament with unlimited reentry. If you enter it 10 times, perhaps like the points you end up cashing for should be divided by 10. Another suggestion that people didn't love was to only count the first entry's points because people had said, what if like Marley goes and plays and she plays 10 entries of everything, but she wins 5 bracelets.
Yeah.
That should still be Player of the Year. It's still like an extremely difficult task to do that. So like you shouldn't have your second entry bracelet not count for any points. But I'm like, all right, how about divide them by the entries?
I think that I agree with that. And I don't know, I guess like I'm not an authority on it, but I think I'm kind of torn on the reentry debate because I kind of feel like, the more it is a numbers game to a certain degree, but if you are a weaker player and you buy in a million times, you still have to perform.
Yeah.
You still have to play the final table and against tough fields. Some of these tournaments are very tough fields, especially, these high buy-in tournaments. And even if you can buy in many times, you still have to kind of execute to win it. And that isn't just, you can't just say because somebody bought in 10 times and they won it, oh, it was only because you had more money than me. I don't think that that's necessarily true. I think it's definitely an edge to be able to do that, but I don't know if I agree with that. So I don't know. I think it's okay, honestly.
Yeah, I prefer the tournaments where you can rebuy, like especially if I go travel somewhere. I don't want to travel somewhere, bust in a standard way, which is like it happens in a tournament sometimes where you're just going to get coolered in like level 1. I almost busted first level of the main one year.
Really?
I almost did. I was like, I'm like, well, I went with a read and like this guy was bragging about being friends with A-Rod and stuff, and then tried to run like a fucking massive bluff over 3 streets versus me, and I ended up calling with this set on a 4-liner flush board, like 4 to a straight, 3 to a flush, and I was just like, I just think you're full of shit. And so I almost busted level 1 of a 10K where I'm like, this is the biggest tournament I play all year.
Yeah.
So it happens, and you know, you want to be able to play poker and not worrying about like traveling somewhere, busting, packing up, and going home.
Yeah.
So I like the fact that there's re-entry to a lot of stuff. But Matt Savage actually just ran a tournament in California yesterday where it was 1 entry per flight. I'm like, I like this idea. I like the ones Borgata has done double entry, like you could re-enter the same flight once. Stuff like that, where it's like, yeah, someone who has more money will have an edge because they get a couple lottery tickets instead of 1. They don't get 100 lottery tickets.
Yeah,
and I feel like that's kind of good because it's like, you know, people who maybe have jobs who can't go to a ton of tournaments, they don't just go one and done and they go home to their job. Like they have a chance to actually play a tournament, and more rec player money enters the field.
Well, I was gonna say, I see more rec players honestly entering multiple times too. I don't know about you, but I know a decent amount of rec players who will do that.
Yeah.
And they assume, you know, people are knowing now that you need to come in with 2 buy-ins, 3 buy-ins to a tournament, and that's kind of, you know, if you can't afford 3 buy-ins, maybe you need to play smaller tournaments, which I've learned the hard way.
Yeah. Oh, we've all shot taken a couple times where I'm like, I have 1 buy-in to this. I really hope it works out.
I know.
Also, we should just start a running total of like how much bad advice I give where I'm just like, don't do what I do, guys.
Seriously. And also, you don't get anything for winning this award. You don't get any.
Like, I wanted to lead into that because it's like, it's hilarious. If you read on Twitter what's been going on this last week with our whole controversy, like you would think there's some amazing prize that they're like, oh my God, like they're awarding $1 million to the wrong person. Oh my God. But no, you get a grand total of nothing.
Nothing. And yeah, I honestly feel like it's just the Daniel Negreanu award that everyone wants to try to, and he's accrued a few enemies along the way in his long career, so it's become like just the Daniel award, and then a few of his enemies try to like, you know, take it from him. Yeah, it's kind of interesting because it had died down a little bit. He has vlogs all summer that are like wildly popular. People like to get that feeling that they're at WSOP. Yeah.
And he does a good job of just giving you like little snippets of like, okay, this is what it's like to like live this like WSOP life. And there wasn't a ton about POY in the middle of it. Because he hadn't been having a terrific summer. It was more based on, he was making his vlogs about like, hey, am I going to be profitable in these packages that he sold at no markup to his fans? So it was more about that. And then at the end of the summer, he had a great result. He got second in 100K. And then his vlogs and his like WSP Europe vlogs all became centered on, can I win POY? Who are the points leaders? Who am I going after? And the points leaders were, well, you know, one, Shaun
Deeb.
Yeah, and then the eventual winner, who was Sonic Jax, this is embarrassing that this is how little I knew about him, is that I have to look up his name again.
Yeah, I didn't know anything of him.
Isn't that great, though? That someone can come in and have a sick summer and end up actually, like, crushing 2 really well-known pros.
Yeah, and kind of, you know, like diffusing the rivalry. They've had a rivalry for a long time.
Yeah.
They had a marriage last longer. They had a...
Do you want to,
Wait.
Let me just shout out Rob Campbell, whose name I very rudely forgot. He's Player of the Year. He'll have a banner. I'm going to see the banner every time I walk into the pavilion, and I will remember now.
His photo here.
Yeah. Give us a little bit of the background with the Shaun Deeb marriage lasts longer.
I don't know all the details. All I know is that there was a marriage lasts longer proposed. Daniel, if you don't know, just got married to Amanda Leatherman, who is a poker host, and recently. And Shaun, I think, has been married for several years, but they I think that they just like dislike each other.
You think?
Oh yeah,
just a little bit.
I'm trying to be on my good behavior here, but yeah. And so anything that they can bet on, they will, and that's pretty savage, honestly.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. It's
it started with Shaun saying something about how about we have a last longer, like my marriage versus yours and Amanda's, like kind of just a little needle, a giant sword.
Yeah.
and I was like, holy shit, like that's so messed up. And then
it was like a fucked up joke at first.
Yeah. And then Negreanu came back at him with like, you're probably gonna die soon because you're so unhealthy, something like that. So it was like a life lasts longer, and I was like, oh my god, he somehow raised the marriage lasts longer.
That's fucking. So it's on?
I don't think so. Like, how can you have one of these, right? I was like, if I were Amanda and Ashley, I'd be like doing some backroom deal. Like, yeah, let's bet a lot. We'll just do a quick little divorce. We'll chop it up and go on vacation.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's great. I mean, knowing how competitive they are, I feel like they probably did do something. I don't know.
Wouldn't you like?
Just proposing it in the first place.
They're so competitive that like their marriages could be falling apart, and they're like, I will not divorce you.
Yeah, exactly.
It would be like a Dateline episode where one kills the other one instead. Like, they're not going to ever get divorced and lose the last longer.
That's what I'm saying. It goes really deep with these guys, but I don't know. Do you think that they should start paying POI? Do you think that would incentivize people? Yeah.
I think it's like...
Or would they just end up paying Daniel more money every year?
I mean, it's still really difficult. Like, even if he has a way better chance than 99% of players, you see what happens. Like, someone has a breakout year. Rob Campbell comes in, wins 2 bracelets, makes runs and everything, and he snatches it from him, right? So there are probably only 20 or so players who have a legitimate chance of getting it. You have to be like proficient in mixed games. You have to have a really deep pocket. You have to be able to play 10Ks, 50Ks, everything. But it's not like Daniel's guaranteed this award. Like, he fought really hard to try to get this award. So I think, though, that certain things have to change about it. Like, I think that if you came in and were like the sickest new tournament pro and like you win 2 bracelets and you're not in contention for it, there's a problem with the point system. Of
course. I don't know. For me, I kind of think, because obviously, like we're saying, the people that are in the running for this are very rich. Yeah. Overall, because you have to be playing these events. So what does like a nice cash prize doesn't really mean anything to them anyways. I think that like what they need to do is nail down the point system, nail down how they're going to do it, and somehow make it more prestigious and meaningful so more people will care about it. I don't know how you're going to do that. Yeah. But I don't know.
You have to give some prize. Like,
yeah, something.
It shouldn't be a thing where like poker Twitter can be like, LOL, look at these idiots chasing this nothing. Yeah. Like, that shouldn't be it. Like, the prestige of it. And I do want to say that there's a really good chance these guys had big dollar side bets on this. So when we're saying, oh, there's nothing for it.
That's true.
There's a chance that they were heavily financially invested in it. But all right, when you have WSOP, which is like a massive corporation, and they're benefiting from it, you have people flying to the Czech Republic who are not going there for vacation. They're going there to grind a bunch of tournaments and pay a ton of Rake.
Yeah.
In the summer, if it makes people re-enter tournaments over and over, they're paying Rake every time. So WSOP is making a lot of money from this. The fact that they only give back a banner in a just a nominal prize is pretty crazy to me, and I think it's pretty cheap. No other tour does this. If you look, WPT gives a prize package of cash, tournament buy-ins, like hotel. There's a lot of stuff they get. HPT has like, they're not even a huge tour, HPT. They have like $1,600 tournaments.
Yeah.
And I think their prize pack is like over $10,000 with just travel and buy-ins and stuff for Player of the Year.
So how is WSOP getting away with it? They're just so prestigious, and they know they're the best, and so they know people will care about it.
They depend on people like Negreanu and Deeb.
Yeah.
Bolstering this non-award. It's being like, we want this and we're going to chase it and we're going to spend a lot of money. We're going to travel. We're going to take time away from our families to do it. If not for them, do you think anyone is playing extra entries? Like,
no,
I don't think so.
I don't know. I don't know, anybody who's doing that. I mean, maybe the answer is we need to, shout out to Daniel and Deeb.
Like, stop chasing this.
Stop. Yeah. Like, let's just boycott it a little bit, and hopefully, I think that it is nice. We need more awards in poker. We do need more recognition for people that work hard. Not that many of them. And so I like that this is in place, but we need to, make it nicer for people.
Yeah,
I think.
just something. Like someone suggested a car. I'm like, I think something like that is cool. It doesn't have to be like $500,000 into $1 million. I think something that is like flashy and cool and that you can't get otherwise. Like if they had some kind of special edition car, you could probably even get it donated if you get the right sponsor. I think WSOP could easily do that. Just something, just so that these people aren't like attacked for being like silly, like, oh, you like children chasing nothing. Because it would be annoying. Like, what if it's your personal goal and everyone kind of mocks you? It's like, oh, your personal goal is to pay a ton of rake and like win nothing. LOL. Like that is what Twitter has been like a lot. And I'm like, well, you know, it's his goal. And like some people want to like get in the best shape of their life at the age of 60. It's like, well, you're not going to enter a bodybuilding competition. You're not going to win a marathon. Why are you doing it? This is so stupid. It's like, well, people have like personal goals that mean something to them.
Yeah. Now seems like a good time to thank our sponsors. A big shout out to Run It Once Poker, the brand new and awesome place to play poker online. They really care about the players, and though we haven't played on it because we're here in the US, womp womp, we've been hearing really good things and have checked out some of the videos of gameplay on this channel, and it looks really cool.
You can sign up through once.run/play and receive a 100% deposit bonus up to €600, along with the 51% rake back they give through their in-game reward system, Splash the Pot. And for Run It Once training, the best place to learn poker from players much better than us, you can sign up through once.run/learn, and you'll get access to 3 free elite videos, so check it out. All right. So getting back into, we set the scene for what POY is, why people might want it, what the shortcomings are for it from the WSOP side. But something crazy is like everyone is kind of over it. And Daniel Negreanu was announced as a winner. He was super excited, a little bit gloaty in his vlog about Shaun. And obviously Shaun was really upset with himself. He had needed to get 5th place in the Colossus, which was the final event at WSOP Europe. He ended up punting in 9th place. He admitted he thought it was a punt. He's like, I'm not crazy about the hand and I regret it. Turns out the points were calculated the wrong way. And in the summer, Negreanu actually got 213 points awarded to him that he didn't win. So an event that was counted once ended up being counted again as a different event, one with smaller fields, or I'm sorry, bigger field, bigger buy-in. So it wasn't just like, I think it was like 47 points he got for the one. They gave him the same place in this online 1K, which awarded him 213 points. So, which is a lot. I mean, it was a little over 5% of his total.
Wow.
And like, he ended up thinking he had a much better chance at it and deciding to go to WSOP Europe.
Yeah.
When really he needed to like win a bracelet in Europe for him to like actually win this race. So this came out, Daniel had thought he'd won for like a few days, got to do like a victory lap. And then, so awkward.
So awkward. Although, you know, he seems to be taking it decently well. What can he say really at this point? But it's, I mean, how brutal is that to, you know, I'm sure he would have gone anyways to WSOP
I
Europe.
think so too.
It's not like he, you know, he put himself out to go to an event he wasn't going to, but you never know. But just because of the system, I would love to meet the person who found that.
That's what I was just looking. So I sent you a bunch of those, a bunch of tweets that are, some of them are pretty crazy. The guy was just a 2+2 guy. He was looking up points for something that was just like...
Really?
Yeah, which is kind of crazy. He was like looking up points because, you know, a lot of people do side bets on this stuff. And like some of these, I actually was part of one last year, like a $500 fantasy league where you buy people for dollar amounts, whatever, and they score you points in every tournament that they play, and then at the end you chop it up. Yes, there's a fantasy league. So there's a $500 one that at old David Baker ran. Yeah. There's also a $25K one. So there's people buying in for $25,000, and they have to make sure that these points are right. So pretty much somebody who was in a league, his name is Alex Alensky. You can give him a shout out. He's at GT _Iskander, ISKANDER. He actually blew this whole thing open on 2+2. He posted on 2+2. Looks like DNegs doesn't win POY. English is not my first, but I tried to explain situation on Twitter. So he posted that in the morning. And then within a couple hours, there's a bunch of people being like, I don't know. Nah, it's probably nothing. Just like, you're probably wrong. They do a deep dive into it, and it turns out he was right. So total nightmare for DNegs.
The Veronica Brill of 2+2.
Pretty much, right?
I mean, I don't know. Maybe she's inspiring people. I guess he had money in the line. He had skin in the game, but that's fucking amazing.
Yeah, but it highlights how ridiculous this award is.
It is.
Like, WSOP cares so little about it that they didn't even have someone go through and check every result.
Yeah.
This isn't something it's like, we're going to put our best guys on it for a week. This is something they're like, yo, let's pay this guy $50 to spend an hour.
Yeah. Just run some numbers. Yeah, okay, he won, great. Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
But also this created way more controversy. So First things first, Shaun Deeb posted about feeling sick over it because really he didn't need 5th place in the classes coming back with 11 players. He needed 9th place. And he had a good stack. I think he came back 4 of 11.
He got 9th?
He ended up busting in 11th, I'm pretty
11th.
sure. Yeah.
Okay.
So he came in with a decent chance to make POY, but he really went for it in hand versus Elke, who was the eventual bracelet winner. But what he was saying is, hey, if I came in 4 of 11 or whatever he was, and I needed to get 9th, like, I don't even play that hand. You just sit there and, like, chill and win Player of the Year, which I think is a valid point, and I would be pretty salty about it. The counterpoint I would make, though, is that that's because of when everyone found out about this. I think Rob Campbell might have had an inflection point at some point in WSP Europe where like, oh, wait a second, I'm actually in position to win. Like maybe I won't gamble in this spot. And maybe he would have made it deeper in a tournament. If Negreanu knew about the points, like perhaps he takes a higher variant spot that he just kind of chilled because he thought he was going to win. Like there are so many spots like that. Like depending on when someone knew of the discrepancy, like things would have been different.
You really think people play that much differently because they want to win the award?
These guys, yes.
Yeah.
For sure. Like, they went there because of that.
Yeah.
Like, they already both have money. Shaun Deeb will, like, travel to play Scoop and W Coop, but I don't think he really
cares about
grinds much more than for bracelets and those big online series. So, for him to go to Rozvadov away from his family and young kids, like, he wants that award. He wants Daniel to not get that award. That was a big deal for him. And then Negreanu, same thing. Like, he has always been, like, achievement-oriented. Like, I don't think the money is the thing. I think it was, like, I want to be the only, like, I want to be a 3-time winner. That makes it, like, impossible for anyone to catch me.
Right. Yeah. Wow. And, you know, this kid, was he in the 25K?
I don't even know. That's what I mean. Like, it's kind of cool. So this award does something, right? Like, I read all his posts and stuff, and like I didn't know who he was before. But I think that happens to a lot of American players. Like you don't really know the people across the pond sometimes. But I read his post. I thought he was like a really cool guy. He seems like just a very like humble person. Like when he thought he lost, he wrote a nice post about it and how like he had an amazing year and he was so thankful and all this stuff. And then when he found out he won, he wasn't like, haha, suckers. You know, he was just kind of like, wow, this is huge, big deal. And like, so the award means something because definitely more people will pay attention to this person and like figure out what he's about and stuff. But I don't know. I find it hard to be unbiased here, and I find it hard to be like, this award is very important.
Right,
like, you can read through what I'm saying that I don't think this is a very important thing.
No, but it should be. And we need to kind of do a renovation. You know, there have been several people then that came out and said that D-Negs knew the whole time and had been cheating, you know, basically knowingly, or not cheating, but kind of, what's the word? Like,
just like omitting, like if it's the kind of thing like an error of omission or like whatever, where like you kind of suspect that something has been done in your favor. Like the bank just gives you an extra $100 in your account and you're like, I'll just pretend I didn't look up my account today.
Right.
That's what people are claiming, but this is kind of, I don't know how to even talk about this because it's something that like, he either was like kind of lying or not, and I don't think there's any way to ascertain it because I don't think if he were someone to look it up, see that he got extra points and be like, awesome, I'm not going to tell anyone, like he's not going to tell anyone. There's no way he'd be like, let me just text someone real quick and be like, I got extra points I don't deserve. So how can we ever even like investigate this?
It's tough. It's definitely not as cut and dry as the Postle case. Right. There's not hours of footage of Daniel at home, like in his spreadsheet, like, 270. Like
what's sick is there kind of is though. Like that's what people were saying. They're like, he was obsessed with the POY. Yeah. He vlogged about it constantly. He did a running points total all the time. And that like he's somebody who's so anal about this one thing that like how could he possibly have missed such a huge influx of points. And at first I was like, wow, that's like a pretty sick argument. That's a really good point. But looking through, just like the way that he handled the POY, he wasn't really in contention for the summer. So he wasn't being like, I need this many points in this event. Do I get 17 points or 20 points for this? It wasn't until like the end of the summer where we had that really good result that he started counting all these points. And it wasn't until like WSOP Europe that he was like, how many points do I get if I finish 45th instead of 46th and whatever? Like that's when he was like crazy on the grind. So I feel like the argument that like he's been paying so much attention, how could he possibly not have known, is like a bit attacking him. Like,
yeah, I mean, that's a bit of a stretch of like, oh, you care about something, so you should have been on it. People make mistakes. You know, even if he was on it, he's just doing. Does he really know the system? Does he really know?
Yes, that's where it's like the argument isn't that crazy for someone to make. But I think once you dig a little bit, you realize that like his obsession with it was like towards the end of the summer after this result has already been miscounted. So I don't know. Like, so if it were me, I would go back and look at every point because I'd be like, I want to make sure that like I wasn't cheated points, right? Like, because there's so much wrong with WSOP that there's a chance someone could just leave out a result or like miscount your points, give you less points than you deserve. Just as a little example of this, I'm not just like crazy hating WSOP for no reason. There has been a payout problem on WSOP.com from the inception, and I have brought it to their attention, I don't know, infinite times. From I think 7th to 6th place, there's a much bigger pay jump than from 6th to 5th. There's no reason for this. It's never been like this in any tournament. All it would be is like someone just like put in the wrong data at one point for like percentage wise of how much of the prize pool you should get. It's just a little thing. It's not a big deal, but it's a mistake, and no tournament has ever paid out like that. Never have gotten a response. There's nothing ever going to be changed about that. So like they are kind of careless, and like they don't don't really respond well to mistakes and stuff like that. So it's not outside the realm of possibility. It's actually like very predictable that they would have had some kind of error. So if I were him and the points were that close, like I would be up in it. Like I would be looking at every single result. So it's not crazy for people to expect him to have done that, but it's also like a pretty horrible accusation. Like, it's like
and one that you really just, it's tough because you really can't prove it ever. So even if it's all speculative evidence. Like you're just saying, oh well, someone who cares about this should have checked it, but we'll never know, and you really can't. I don't know. And the
tweets though.
The tweets are savage. Of course, Doug Polk has something to say about it. They have a long time rivalry, so it does not surprise anybody.
Should we just go through the tweets because they're funny?
Yeah.
So this is crazy. I'm a big Doug fan. But like his pot stirring is like, whoa.
I'm a Doug fan too. But he's savage. He is savage.
He says, there's a serious chance Daniel knew he was benefiting from the POY error and didn't say anything. What's the chance someone completely obsessed with the POY race didn't realize they're getting a bunch of points incorrectly? Doesn't make sense to me. He wouldn't notice. And obviously that just stirred the pot. He has 197 responses to that, where people who either love or hate Negreanu just like blindly say stuff, which is kind of what happens like every time one of these things happen. Like,
And then he says, it's either he didn't know and wasn't checking his own points while spending every day talking about it, or he knew. I mean, again, it's all just speculative stuff. Shaun Deeb obviously came out. 2 things. It's amazing. Daniel wouldn't bet me on with POY because he was afraid I would cheat when he's the one caught trying to cheat. I mean, he's already said he's the one caught trying to cheat. He's already jumping to...
But also, I just want to say I'm very impressed that you could read that because there's never any punctuation.
No, literally.
Literally. I like usually look at a Shaun Deeb tweet and I'm like... No, I look it from far. I'm like...
This random capitalized words in the middle of a sentence. I mean...
But also, Shaun brings up, he said, second, the only acceptable move from WSP is co-POY with me and Sonic Jax, which, I mean, that's kind of crazy. Why would that be the only acceptable? I feel like then it would have to be like all 3 of them.
Why is he even in?
He's saying because he would have won if he had known about the points, which I think is probably true. I think 95% he just folds into POY if he's aware of the situation. It's so easy to be 4 of 11 and get better than a 9th place finish. But what I said before is like if these other guys had found out about the discrepancy at different points of WSOP Europe, they also would have made different choices.
Yeah, you can't. I mean, I think it's I don't know Shaun Deeb, but I think that it's a big stretch to go from oh, I need to co-win this award because I would have done things differently. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a stretch.
It's tough because it's like, I do understand what he's saying. I do think that he would have probably just folded into the better results. But yeah, I don't know. It's funny because it's like, how do we even like arbitrate something like this? Where we're like, who do we award the nothing to? I feel like this guy deserves nothing more than this guy deserves nothing. What do you think? Like, there's no prize. Like, what are you supposed to do?
Well, they have to name a winner, and they have to go by the rules at this point. All they can do is do it differently next year. I hope there's enough people like us that are, making a big deal about it, that they're forced to change something about it. But at the end of the day, WSOP is so big and so untouchable. Yeah. And people will always play their events, right? And
I got to read the Barney Boatman tweet,
though.
That's
great,
this is like the perfect sum up to like how ridiculous the award is. He says, the WSOP POY point system is poker's electoral college. Arbitrary, obscure, unwieldy, and unnecessary.
Seriously.
Which is like, and if we put a big prize at the top or, change some stuff about it, make it a little more fair, make it so that people can kind of win if they have a breakout year. They don't have to have like $5 million to throw at WSOP. I feel like that would help a lot. For sure. And we need to keep it. We need more awards. Yeah. We were talking a little bit about, just to shift gears a little bit, the poker awards, which, also was controversial.
also controversial, and also kind of a silly point system way of awarding them. I was nominated this past year for Vlogger of the Year, and in my category, obviously the king of vlogs, Andrew Nemi, but then Doug Polk, who hadn't made a single vlog. I think Joy Ingram, who is a podcaster, not a vlogger. Right. I don't know. I think Daniel was in there, who maybe had made a few vlogs, but really, wasn't
on the grind yet. No, much.
And of course, there was so many other vloggers who had been, constantly putting content out there. And this is like, a really nice big award show system. But you were on the jury yourself, and you were saying that like it's kind of just a little bit of, oh, who have you heard of? And like, just pick someone and there you go.
It's kind of interesting because the first step is where I think the problem lies. The first step was they would send an email to a lot of people. It was almost 200 people with a list of all the people who've been I don't think it's like nominated because it's the first one. I don't know. But there'd be like 20 people in each category. So it's like basically everyone who's done a vlog, everyone who has a podcast, everyone who's like a reasonable person for the category was just put down. And I don't know who does the first part because some of the people in the categories just were in the wrong categories. I think the jury process was actually kind of good. Like when I was in it, like for as much as I am a little bit cynical and I was like, okay, these awards aren't for anything. I'm like, if I'm spending 3 hours with these people discussing who should win, we're going to get it right. Yeah. Like we're talking about it and we're like arguing and lobbying back and forth and everything and trying to figure out who the best person or podcast or vlogger or anything is in each category. So I thought that part was good. And they actually had a jury that was pretty representative of the poker world. Like they had people from all over the place. It wasn't like we have 10 Americans trying to decide who gets this award. So that was kind of good. And it was represented like they had a media person, they had a poker blogger, professional poker players, tournament directors. Like it was a really good mix of people. But the problem was the people that we were voting on were sometimes completely incorrect in their categories. Yeah. I think that the problem is that people who were doing the initial round of the voting were sometimes older people who've never watched a vlog, who don't know the difference between a vlog and a podcast. You have people voting who are maybe like from Australia and they're like, I've literally never listened to American poker content at all. I'm not interested in it. Yeah. And they still have to pick a name. Right. So they're like, oh, Vlogger of the Year. I think Doug Polk's pretty funny. I picked Doug Polk. And then it's like they didn't even realize that he's not done a vlog.
Or just they've only heard of one name. Yeah. Not even, you know what I mean? Yeah. It's kind of crazy. I mean, and I think there's not that much crossover in poker. I found this too. People who kind of watch streams and watch Twitch don't really watch vlogs or don't really pay attention to live tournaments or pay attention to live at the bike cash games. And it's kind of like everyone has their own kind of niche. So it's hard to have, I don't know, a set of people and have them be the authority on everybody. I don't know what the answer is.
Yeah, I think one of the answers is like to have expressed instructions in the beginning when you send the email to all these industry people to vote, to say, hey, just abstain from the vote. There should just always be a I don't know enough about this category as a selection for each one. Like, so if you're someone who doesn't watch any vlogs, you don't just pick someone that you think is cool. You I do not watch vlogs, you know, and you can vote that. And even on the jury, there were 1 or 2 votes I abstained from because I'm like, I don't know enough about this. And then I actually voted against my own pod for the LFG. Chad Holloway and I have a poker news pod where I had the option to abstain if I wanted to because I was in the category as a nominee. But I was like, I don't need to abstain. I'm voting for the chip race. I was like, I think they're really funny. I think they put in like just endless work. It's like more of a full-time job for them than it is for a lot of the other pods that I listen to. And they got like some of the best guests. I was like, how do you even get these people to talk? They don't usually do interviews.
Really?
So I was pretty impressed. Yeah. And I'm like, cool. So I ended up voting for them. And a lot of the Europe contingent that was on our jury did the same because they're like very highly regarded across the pond. So I think that ended up, they ended up winning. But I had the option to just not vote. There were other ones where I'm like, oh, a couple of my good friends were in and I just like didn't vote. So I'm like, I can't vote against them and I clearly am biased.
Right.
So I'm like, I'm not sure if they're the best. I'm not sure. Like, it's kind of thing. I'm like, I really like Maria. I'm like, is Maria the best broadcaster? I don't know. Cause I'm like, I'm clouded. I like Nick Schulman so much. Like there were some things where I was like, I don't feel comfortable voting, but I feel like that should be like expressly in the rules. Like if you don't know something about this, if you're like super biased and aware of it, just like sit out the vote and you'll get a better result.
Yeah, there's no way to get around that. The community is so small, and you're always going to have your favorites. You're always going to have your friends.
Yeah.
I don't know. We need a new system.
Yeah.
We need to overthrow what's going on. We need to stand up, and we need to get a new system and out with the old. Are you with me?
All right. Just to kind of wrap up this whole awards thing, we've had kind of like a cynical discussion based on just the controversy and all the like mean tweets going back and forth and accusations of cheating, which are probably not real. I just want to say that I think that awards are really good for poker. And I think that there have been like certain award shows and stuff that have been like amazing for poker, especially the GPA. Because think of like how awesome it was to just see all our friends. They didn't even look recognizable. Everyone cleaned up super nice. I thought I was going to be underdressed wearing this like nice, I thought I was going to be overdressed in this like nice white dress I got. I'm like, oh, I'm going to like be kind of fancy. I go there and I'm like borderline underdressed.
Yeah, it was like it was like a gala. I've never been to a gala, but I imagine that's what it was. And it was just beautiful at the Poker Go Studios and nice to see the community who never dresses up ever, ever, ever.
Yeah.
You know, our biggest stage is the WSOP main and literally like...
People wear their best hoodies for that.
Like, I mean, yeah, it's crazy. So it's nice to have something like that. The system for that is also flawed. I was nominated this year, and that's the only reason why I can think why I didn't win it, honestly.
Yeah, I can't figure out anything I make. I could say I don't know why I didn't win, but I voted against myself, so I kind of know why I didn't win. But yeah, I think that it's really cool to recognize some people who like literally never get the recognition they deserve. Sarah Herring is one of them, who everyone just agrees is an amazing person in poker, who's been just like really great for getting the best content out of people. I've done interviews with her where at the end of it I leave and I'm like, what did I just tell everyone? Oh my God. Like, I didn't want to tell everyone that. Like, she's gotten like dating info from me, just random things where I'm like, holy shit.
She announced her own pregnancy by accident.
On a podcast.
She pulled it out of herself. She was like...
she's awesome at that. And I think that's a special skill where, you know, when we have guests, we're going to be mostly talking about poker. So it's like they're open with us. But opening up people on your podcast and in your interviews is like a really big skill, and she's such a disarming person and she overshares, so she makes you feel comfortable, and she's gotten some amazing content. I have laughed my ass off at her interviews so many times because she gets people that are these like very serious people to just like say ridiculous things, and her accepting her award and giving a speech and tearing up was one of my favorite parts of the night. And I'm like, it doesn't matter that you just win a trophy. It doesn't matter that the system is a little bit suspect. They have gotten right so many awards that people really deserved, and it was just a nice thing to be able to see these people winning.
For sure. And, you know, I think that we as a whole just need to have more recognition of people and more formal recognition of people, but maybe come up with a better system to I mean, everything in poker is so new, you know, like even these RFID tables and everything about us is kind of being dealt with and figured out as we go. So, you know, we're going to figure it out one day, I guess.
Yeah. And in the meantime, just like award shows like that where they just like give out awards to some people. If you're like, what? My favorite person's this person. That was my second favorite person who won. It's like, okay, like someone got an award. I'm happy about it. Like, you know, I think that people have done their best. I think that Eric Dennis is like the guy who runs the show kind of. And for all the bullshit he had to deal with like, hey, this system is flawed and like this is unfair and blah, blah, blah. When it came to the actual night, I was glad that people kind of laid off him and realized that like, wow, you put together like quite the production here and you got people to like, you got poker players to look nice. I feel like that if you said like, hey, you can get what are the chances of you getting every single award right versus what are the chances to get poker players to take showers and put on suits? I mean, I would think that the first part is much easier than the second part.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, and also everyone takes it seriously, unlike the player of the year. So everyone takes it seriously. Everyone's trying, you know, everyone who was nominated, I think, showed up, you know,
pretty much
if they could, and took it seriously. And, you know, let's do more of it in the future.
Yeah, and just to point out that like we can end on an absurd note. The fact that WSOP Player of the Year, that people chase it and travel all over the place and like, you know, leave their newborns at home and things like that to try to win and win nothing. I'm commentating an event in a couple minutes, the Poker Masters, which Poker Go puts on, and they give $100,000 to the player of the series and a purple jacket, and they make a really big like spectacle of it, and they have like Rake free events to get the elite players to come, and it's like a 10-day long thing, and they realize that they want to give an award and like make a big deal out of it, and I'm like, why can't a much bigger company, WSP is huge, why can't they give something?
Because I think that these other smaller series, it's becoming so competitive. There's so many series popping up. They know they need to stay competitive. They know they need to have draws, and that's the beauty of that. But I think WCP knows that they just have it cornered. Like no one's ever going to touch them really, and people are always going to care about the main. People are always going to care about their events, and so they can kind of get away with it. I don't know.
Have some pride in yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, I love to see it. You love to see it. And I think that's it for us.
All right.
See you next week.